This is kind of a duck blind within this nature reserve area, and it's just wonderful. What I wanted to talk about was this bicycle. This is my, I guess it's going to be 9-year-old Milwaukee gravel bike. Now, it was born a cyclocross bike and it later became a gravel bike, but I think they're all very much in the same family. This one has Ritchie Venture Max handlebars, SRAM group set. The front wheel, which was the original set, is a Fulcrum Racing 5CX, which is really quite nice for cyclocross and that kind of thing. I'm thinking about replacing it later, but it works well and it's robust. You'll notice the GoPro mounted to the front right above the bike computer. Now, the reason for that is with the shock stop suspension stem, if I mounted it up in the cockpit, it would just bounce around all over the place. So it's stable there, and it makes for an interesting picture. The cockpit has enough stuff. It's not overly crowded, but we have the thumb throttle, the controller pad, up, down, off, on, the LCD display, Garmin, which I think is super useful, and that's the mount for the Sigma 1100 Blaster, which is rather powerful. I like it. The suspension stem is kind of optional, but I'm really convinced that it's beneficial, especially if you smack into something blindly, like it's covered by leaves and all of a sudden, crash. So it's useful. It does have a use, as I found out today. This is a XLC suspension seat post. It's not a particularly high quality seat post, but it works really well for not being a very expensive one, and it has a Sella SMP hybrid saddle. This is the new Rocktime Talus bags. It has a latch mount that just click, slides right off, and what I like about it is easy accessibility. In the wintertime, it was more important to have a bigger capacity for jackets and such, but now I'm wearing thinner jacket, and in fact, all that bulky stuff in here is literally bulky stuff. There's no weight. It's just an extra jersey for windbreaker for later, gloves, and of course the toolkit and goodies. So very useful. Plus it slides right off, so you can take it with you where you want to go. But unfortunately, you really can't leave your bike anywhere anyway, so that doesn't matter much. This frame is unremarkable, I think, but I like the paint job. I did it myself in the red, white, and blue scheme. To keep it simple, just a couple stripes, with putting back the factory logos and such. It was orange and really didn't work. This is the new Graph crank. I like it. It's a good, for $150 or so, you're not going to find a better subcompact crank set, I don't think. It's the only problem I have with it is the way it's designed. The Q factor keeps you very close inboard. So I found these 18 millimeter pedal extensions to do the trick. Now, I did, but not too often, hit the chainstays, but since getting the Graft more often, so to prevent that, that was an easy decision actually. At any rate, gravel bikes come in flavors and tire sizes. This one has a 47 millimeter front, 42 rear, but I really can't put anything bigger in the back. And of course the 350 watt Yosi E-Hub. Now the E-Hub I like, but it isn't a replacement for exercise and training, so there's plenty of that, especially in hill climbs. That black bag is the battery bag, and it's sort of discreetly located, I think, tied to the arm of the rack, support arm of the rack, where it just kind of stays put. The center of gravity is about the same had I tied it to the down tube, but if I used the down tube like most e-bikes, I would have lost both my water bottles, which would have been unfortunate. So that couldn't happen. So anyway, that's a brief tour. Oh, one last thing. You might notice the cables bow. The front cable goes to the rear hanger, and the rear goes to the front hanger, and then the cables cross below and go to their respective derailleurs. But they do have to cross. The reason for that is to protect the paint. Had I routed them correctly, front to front, rear to rear, the cables would have banged up the paint job. And I spent too much time doing it. So at any rate, thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to run along and take a look at some ducks.